The Emperor's light burns brightest in the darkest corners of war, and the novel The Rose of War shows us just how far his servants will go to keep the Imperium alive. Today, we're bringing that devotion and destruction to the tabletop, with a lore-accurate list of the Adeptus Sororitas based on the novel The Rose of War. In this list, we're going to talk about one of my favorite sisters' books that I've read so far. To be clear, I have not read a lot of them yet. I'm still working my way through it. So if you have recommendations, let me know in the comments below. But I loved how you got to see the entire kind of life cycle of what a sisters unit goes through, how they operate, who the different parts of their faction are, and why they do what they do. It was a really, really cool experience showing the power of devotion and faith in the Imperium itself and in the Emperor. And I had to bring it to the tabletop. So today we're going to be talking about this combined list, what we see in the few scenes where the entire army is present, and what it would look like on the tabletop to properly represent the Order of the Bloody Rose on the tabletop and really bring them to life. So The Rose of War was a very interesting book for me. It initially didn't actually seem to fit what I was wanting in a sister's book, because it almost felt like an anthology written by a single author. But as the story built and grew and we got to see the progression of these sisters and their unit, we got to really understand why they were doing things and understand their relationship with each other and their relationship with the Emperor and all of that really, really cool depth that we might not get to see in a novel of that length normally. So as an author, I came to appreciate it down the road, but it did take me a little while to ease into it. And that's the one thing I would definitely recommend you be aware of when you're picking this up. It is a very good novel, but be aware it's almost more of a sequential anthology than it is an actual novel itself, which, like I said, is not bad. And had I been warned in advance, I probably would have enjoyed it even more. My favorite part with sequential anthologies and things like that is that you can kind of pick them up and put them down as you go. There's good, solid breaks in the story where you can put it down for a couple days and come back to it. Or you can burn through 2 or 3 sections in one sitting and really enjoy it across the board. So I would definitely recommend reading it. It's a very, very good book and probably one of my best recommendations for a sister's novel. The most interesting part of this book, in my opinion, is that it doesn't tackle the main sisters factions that we see all of the time. We see a lot of Celestine and her order, but we don't really get to see some of these other orders in the Adepta Sororitas that may be kind of on the fringe of the Imperium a little bit. So in this one, we get to see the Order of the Bloody Rose, which is a very militant faction inside the Adepta Sororitas. They are very, very organized and very driven to go out and take the fight to the Emperor's enemies, more so than any other order. And this leads to a little bit more depth and understanding as to why they do what they do and a lot of the reactions they have. Plus, they're just a cool faction. So being able to see them square up against orcs and heretics and Khorne berserkers and a lot of other factions throughout all of this, you get a really good sense of what they're like in combat in general, as well as specifics, which gives us an opportunity to create a really, really cool list. So next, we're going to dive into that list. But first, I have to give a shout out to our main sponsor on this channel that does a lot to make these videos possible. Oh, sorry about that. Just enjoying a nice clean W energy. It's our new sponsor on this channel that I'm super, super excited to have involvement with. They're a clean energy company that specializes in unique flavors and a bunch of different varieties of products. In the past, I've had some health problems in my life, and I've become very particular about what I take in. And unfortunately, in the energy world and in the hydration and electrolyte world, it's pretty hard to actually be super detailed without spending a ton of money. And that's why I enjoyed W. They're a very clean and healthy alternative to your big energy drinks like Monster. But on top of that, they're actually designed with electrolytes. They also come with the electrolyte-specific version called W Hydro that is also a big part of what I take in. So I would definitely recommend checking them out at w.gg. And if you use code WARGAME,
you can get 10% off any of your purchases. I'll also have a link down below in the description so you can go check out their starter pack.
So now that you've taken a look at W Energy and all that they have to offer, let's dive into the list that you're going to need that W to get through all the painting. It's going to be a very infantry heavy list that will require a lot of time and a lot of work to make it look really good, but that's just sisters in general. So the first one is our warlord. That is going to be our canoness. The canoness is a staple of the story. She's a big part of kind of the influence on the background and the reality for our sisters that she leads into battle, as well as those she guides around her. So she was an obvious choice. Next, her second in command was the head of the Zephyrim, and while she's not a canoness technically in the novels, the only model that would represent her really well is the canoness with jump pack. So we do bring her to the tabletop as well, so that we can represent both of them together. In reality, she'd be kind of the lieutenant. Like I said, they don't really ever give her a title. They just call her by name the entire time. But with her represented on there, we can do that way. On top of that, the Hospitaller is another major character that has a lot of influence on the Sister Superior of the battle squad that is the main characters of the novel. So we had to bring her into this as well. And honestly, she's one of my favorite sisters models anyway, so I was going to put her in there whether she fit or not. Next is a Ministorum Priest. This one's going to be a little bit weird one because of how the story goes. I am not going to spoil it for you, though. There is a Ministorum Priest who doesn't play a major part in the story, and he was a good fit here to make sure everything kind of ran smoothly and make sure there was enough leadership going around to kind of cover everything. Finally, the last character we're going to have in our list is a Palatine. She's going to be playing a big role in this as well. Once again, kind of a character in there. The main character takes up kind of a Palatine role towards the end of the story, and it really kind of brings out a lot of the depth of the character we're going for. So I felt that it would be a pretty good inclusion as well. Next up is going to be 4 boxes of Battle Sisters. These are going to be the staple and core of our army. They're the staple and core of basically the entire story. A single squad is the main characters of this book. And you do see a lot of the Battle Sisters moving in the larger combat scenes as well. So they were a pretty much auto-include for me. Next is a Dominion squad. This is another group that's referenced throughout the novel as well, and does play a part in the actual combat, so I wanted to make sure to include them. This next one isn't actually ever mentioned in the stories directly, although the characters in the story are threatened to be sent to this unit, so I felt like it was a good include. Plus, it's sisters. You have to have Repentia in the sisters. It only makes sense to have at least a squad of Repentia in a sisters list to really feel like a true sisters list. So I included them in here as well. Next, I included a squad of Retributors. This will give us a little bit more variety and color to our army, so it's not too uniform and similar. This also goes for the squad of Sanctifiers that we're going to include as well. This kill team unit will help give a little bit more variety to our tabletop units as well, which is always nice. Next, we're going to have a squad of Seraphim that will do a lot of our jump activities along with a squad of Zephyrim. The squad of Zephyrim is going to be with the canoness on jump pack, so they're going to be playing a lot of our jump game to move quickly and control objectives and cut the enemy off while the rest of the units move into position. And our final infantry unit is going to be a Sisters Novitiate squad. The Sisters Novitiate squad is another one that's mentioned throughout the book and referenced, so it was an easy include here. And honestly, they're pretty cool models. I wanted to include them as well. Next, let's move on to the vehicles, with a vehicle that was pretty important in the story as well, and that's the Castigator. The Castigator was a pretty simple include for me in this list to make sure we get a lot of the bigger units in there. Same with the Immolator and the Exorcist. These two vehicles are directly mentioned in the story, and I wanted to include them there. And finally, we're going to include 2 Rhinos, just so the sisters have enough mobility to get as many of these units around the tabletop quickly as they can in a little bit more protected shell. Sisters are kind of glass cannony when they're on the tabletop, especially in this form, and they can be cleared pretty quickly if you're going up against knights, or the Thousand Suns punch pretty hard against them as well. So Going this route gives us a little bit more protection and mobility to get our sisters where we need them to go. So now that we've covered the actual list itself, let's talk about how much this is going to cost, and then we can round this up with paint and tactics and get you back to the tabletop and ready to go. So now that we've talked about the actual list, let's talk about how much this is going to cost so that you know what to plan for and what it's going to take to get you to the tabletop. Normally we do this in 3 parts, but because the sisters don't really have a fluffy list, they don't have any real alternatives that will save you a lot of money, unless you go for big 3D printed stuff off of Etsy, which may or may not be better anyways. We're going to stick with the retail, which is based off of Warhammer.com or your local Warhammer store, where you're going to be paying full price no matter what you get. And the next is going to be the value total I based off of Wargame Portal, where you can get a lot of Warhammer 40k stuff for a pretty significant discount that is usually mirrored with your LGS, as well as Amazon. These 2 locations were an easy place to look this up, so I didn't have to go into an LGS to look it up. On top of that, I found LGSs vary on their discounts. So going off of my local ones didn't seem like a good idea to get you guys an accurate price, which is why we do Wargame Portal and we do Amazon to fill in that list just in case something's out of stock at Wargame Portal. So if we talk retail price, the high dollar value that you will have to pay if you go to a Warhammer store to get your army, it's going to run you $1,284. So this isn't the most expensive army that we've done, which actually kind of surprised me. I expected the sisters to be more expensive since they're kind of a hoardy army, but they aren't. They actually beat out a few Space Marines as well. And if you want to see the price breakdown and compare it to a lot of different armies, the link to the Google Sheets is down in the description below, where you can see the actual army list breakdown of costs. And yes, this was done after the October price hike, so it does reflect current prices on there as well. That being said, there have been enough price hikes in the last few years that I will not guarantee long-term that these prices will stay the same, but it'll at least give you a picture of what you're looking at price-wise, generally speaking. So next we go to the value total, and this is how much you'd save by going with one of the discount purchasers like your LGS, Wargame Portal, Amazon, or any of the other places you can find them. Element Games, if you're in the UK, is a big one as well. And these prices do come down quite a bit, and it's definitely the way I'd suggest doing it. If you don't go third party through eBay and get used models, which is also a really, really good way to do it. So the value total on this, if I were to buy it 1 box at a time, would run $1,089.23. Now, like I said, this is a 1 box at a time type breakdown here. I didn't want to use combat patrols to build this list because combat patrols go in and out, as well as Christmas boxes and discount boxes and things like that. A lot of them are limited run or only available for a while, so I wanted to keep those not included here. That being said, I would definitely look at them. The current discount box actually has some pretty good models in there that fill out a large portion of this list. So going that route will save you about $150 if you purchase multiple of them. So I would definitely recommend taking a look at that and doing that instead. So now that we've got how much this is going to cost, let's move over to painting it. We can talk about the paint scheme and things like that of the Order of the Bloody Rose. And then we'll end this with our tactics and what we do on the tabletop to better represent this novel as well.
Hey everybody, I wanted to thank all of you guys for being part of this channel. It's been a lot of fun to share all of these videos with you and talk Warhammer and other games. If you want to be more involved in this community, we are currently working on building up our Patreon and Discord so that you guys can be more involved, share your thoughts, have discussions, and become a real part of this community. On top of that, we are getting super close to being able to include our shop on this channel so you can get your Readers of Wargame merch directly here instead of on my website, which is www.tylertartar.com. So make sure you go check that out as well. And if you can, one thing we're missing is watch hours. So if you can spare us a little time and check out a second video, I would greatly appreciate it.
So now that you've got your army purchased and ready to go, let's talk about what type of stuff we're going to be looking for when it comes to painting and basing these to make sure they are ready to go for the tabletop. The Order of the Bloody Rose has a pretty simple paint scheme. That's going to be a crimson red color over the entire armor, accented by a lot of silver and a little bit of gold. And then the fabric's going to be typically black with a white underside and a lot of the rose imagery throughout the fabrics and things like that. So it's going to be a pretty simple base level paint scheme. But if you want to dive into it, they do have a lot of silver trim on their armor, as well as silver studs, and a lot of different things that can lead this to be a very complicated grouping as well. You can do a pretty basic slap chop paint job on them as well, which does work. I'm kind of a perfectionist. I did a more slap chop job on my first army I ever painted, my White Scars, but honestly, I'm almost done with all of the painting for my Night Wardens, which are off screen still. And once they're done, I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to redo all of that. There's a lot of green stuff touch-ups I can do to fill in gaps in them, because a lot of it was the push-to-fit outriders and things like that that do not look good. There's a few units that look really good, like my Chaplain on Bike, my Terminator Captain, and a few others that look really, really good. But there's a lot of them that need a lot of work. So that's probably going to be my next big paint project. On top of that, the Sisters of the Bloody Rose tend to not be as devout to the silver hair. A lot of the different sisters will wear short silver hair in honor of saints or different things like that. Sisters of the Bloody Rose do not do this. They'll keep their hair short, mostly to maintain seals in their helmets. But even in the novel, we hear about red hair, brown hair, white hair, and several other different colors of hair from the sisters themselves. So you get to have a little bit more variety than you would with one of the main orders that you see more commonly on the tabletop. Honestly, after reading all of this novel, I think that if I were to build a sisters army, this would be the army I would use for the base paint scheme. It seems like it'd be pretty easy to really get going. With the different colors, there's a lot of different routes you can go. My personal favorite color for that dark blood red color is Vallejo Dark Red. I tend to be an army painter guy 95% of the time, but Vallejo has specific colors that have become a staple in my paint jobs. Vallejo Dark Red is definitely one of them. So that would be the direction I would probably go, just to get that nice flat dark red color to their armor that will really stand out. Then I would bring Army Painter in for the silvers and the blacks and the whites. Although there's different whites and different blacks that are really, really good. A lot of people are big fans of Abaddon Black. I haven't used it personally. I actually own a pot now, but I haven't actually tried it out yet, so I can't vouch for it. Same with the Monument Hobbies whites that I've heard a lot of people raving about. I haven't tried them myself. I do like Army Painter Classic White for my whites. I did a great job on my Terminator Captain, so I'm probably going to be sticking with that moving forward, but it's up to everybody's personal preference. If you guys have any suggestions for paint jobs for the sisters' schemes or anything like that, let us know in the comments below. I'd love to hear that. Next, let's talk about tactics. So, to start this out, I will caveat this with I am not a sisters player. I do have several friends who do play sisters, and I did approach them about how to build this detachment and how to play it, so I do have a little bit of an idea. But if you are a sisters player and you think there's a different route that's better, please let us know in the comments below. I would love your input, and I'm sure a lot of people who watch this video would as well. So I went with the Army of Faith detachment. It seemed like the best fit for the playstyle that we're going with the Order of the Bloody Rose, and it felt like the appropriate thing to do. And kind of like we talked about in the list, we're going to be playing a control game in almost a horde style, using our different vehicles to move our troops around as quickly as we can to different locations, while our flying units will pick stuff off as much as they can, the jump pack units, and we'll try and control our backline as well. But I think mobility is going to be key to winning a game with them. You're going to be trying to score as many points as you can while trying to pick off as many enemies as you can to really clear the board out and give yourself room to move. You are going to have a high volume of units, though, so mobility is going to be an interesting thing to try and figure out, especially if you're facing another horde army. A lot of horde armies, when they clash against other horde armies, can kind of grind themselves into smaller units until one of you ends up either tabled or pushed back into a corner. So trying to move quickly and get into good positions is going to be key to surviving a game with this unit. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that little bell so you get notified anytime we have new videos coming. I always enjoy breaking these down for you guys and talking about how to turn a book into a tabletop army. So let me know if you have any other suggestions for books you think I should do or armies you'd like to see. And I will see you guys in the next one.